All righty, everybody. Thank you for joining us for a special live chat. You've heard him on Digital to Dice podcast. You've heard him on Twitch. Hopefully, you've checked out his YouTube channel, Retro Sports Network. We have one of the most knowledgeable and one of the best guys I know coming to talk with me today, Mr. Ron
Thank
Juckett.
you. Thank you. I'm not a night owl anymore.
I noticed that, right? Things
Yeah.
change. Things change as we age. I'll tell you.
It's that, and because people come to get me up in the morning. How you doing, Sportsman Z? I have to be up at 6:30, whether I want to be or not, and so
Right.
this is great that we could do this during the day.
Absolutely. Great. So happy Memorial Day to everyone out there.
Yes.
Of course, a big war gamer here, so I have a connection
Oh,
with.
it's a big day for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big connection. Memorial Day usually is kind of our gig, right? So
Right.
big shout out, big hope and support for all of our veterans out there and everyone that served. And
Yes.
it's one of those days. So
Yeah, it's the
I'm
day that
just
we remember the ultimate sacrifice that was given to us, so we could do what we do.
Hey, Andrew from Louisville, how you doing? And
Andrew.
Sportsman G, I appreciate him showing up. He did a really nice tribute video for me playing the Cardinals the other day.
Oh,
So
nice.
thanks to him for doing that. you
Hey,
know, I
even Yanni Molina pitched for you the other day.
I
He
know
didn't realize it, but he pitched
crazy.
for you.
That is crazy. D. Scott Howard, good to see you, my friend. Oh my gosh, he's killing us. Lots to talk about, lots to catch up,
It's
lots.
been a while.
Right,
Yeah.
it has been a while. So apologize for that. You know how life gets in the way and this,
Oh,
that, and the
goodness
other thing.
gracious.
But I reached out the other day, and I'm so glad to hear that you could make it
Yeah,
sometime this
absolutely.
weekend so we could
Absolutely.
talk.
I,
And
I felt
so,
bad for not being with you guys Friday night, but that's,
yeah,
again,
that's
yeah.
understandable. I knew it was late last, Friday nights and stuff. So, lots to get into. So, first of all,
Yes.
congrats on
Oh,
136.
we did 136 this past weekend.
Wow, that is
Um,
amazing. That is, I
Thank
mean,
you. It was something that we started in July of 19
okay.
and figured, maybe there's 50 or 60 topics to talk about. And here we are, in July, it's our third anniversary with the show. And we pretty much, with the exception of a holiday week and maybe something else on it, we've gone weekly for 3 years.
And
We've had on Dave Cook, and there's always something to talk about.
yeah,
And
yeah. I
it's
saw you
great.
had on an author from like
Oh,
1890 Spiders baseball.
wasn't he wonderful?
He
That
was
was a
awesome. That was
two and a
awesome.
half hour show. Dave, my partner Dave has this fascination with teams that suck. To be completely blunt, whether it's the 1976 Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the early Buffalo Braves or whatever, and of course the ultimate in Roquefort cheese is is the Cleveland Spiders from 1899. And Dave was doing some of that and ran into this book, and they had a conversation, and we had him on, and it was 2.5 hours.
That's that. That is awesome to hear.
Yeah,
Sports Time
thanks,
Up for
thanks,
Digital.
man.
It is. If you're new, and you hadn't heard about this, which I can't imagine you haven't, you need to check out Digital to Dice. You got a website now. You've
We
got
we got a website. All the shows are on Dave's page on YouTube, and of course, it's done through Spreaker, and that feeds all the popular services. So find us on iTunes and Spotify and all that. And it's really, on yeah, right. Of course, Jason. When it's just the two of us, we take about hey, it's one. Yeah, it's talking about you, ID. Um, when we don't have a guest, the first half of the show was us just, chit chatting around, talking about what we're playing. And then we usually spend about a half hour on the topic at hand. And when we had the guest on, we just give the floor to the guest and talk about that. It works very, very well. It works very, very well.
absolutely. And another shout out, Sports Time
Hi,
Machine.
Mike.
great friend of the channel, and of course, you know, he did a wonderful
He did.
broadcast the other night for me as well. And you know, I'm gonna do a video probably tomorrow and post it on. And I'm not talking about this because this isn't about me, but I just want to let everyone know I do appreciate everyone that's reached out to me, messaged me, commented, and it's just been really overwhelming. So I just can't thank you guys enough, to be honest. Really.
It's a really tight-knit community.
Yes, absolutely. Tabletop Sports Delaware. Wow, we
Well.
bring out the best of the best, man.
That's right.
You know, that is awesome. Although I would have to say I'm having issues with all of these you know, special tribute games for my recovery, and that, like, the Cardinals lose every single one of them. So what kind of tribute is that?
It's realistic. What?
It's realistic.
Every time I do a baseball replay and do a how you doing, Brandon? Thank you. Every time I do a season where I think the Red Sox are going to do well, they of course don't. Except for the one I'm doing now. In 85, they were a 500 club, which was why 86 really came out of nowhere. They're fighting for the Blue Jays for first place in this. This is completely unexpected.
Right.
But yeah, of course, the one season I picked that's not a Red Sox bias season. Oh, yeah. Now we're going to contend.
Yeah. Well, back to Digital Dice, as you know, I do the War Room every Saturday with Tony's Board Life and Russ Swordsman. We have a great time chatting and blah, blah, blah. And we're working on, not quite as long as you guys, but we're started in October of 2019.
Okay.
And to be honest, everyone out there, you don't realize how much time, trouble, effort it is to produce something every single week.
Dave and I talk every day.
You guys are coming up on almost 3 solid years. If you guys think it's easy, try doing something every day, once a week for 2 years, and then we'll see how, see how long it sticks around.
We talk about the show every day, whether it's how you doing, Tribe Fam? Whether it's, a future show idea or somebody we want to interview. How you doing, RJL? And all that. And so, yes, it's a labor of love, but it is not just sit down at whatever time, turn on the mic and do it. It's work. It's fun. It's a labor of love.
There's a lot of things that go into the show. You have to arrange your schedule, right?
Absolutely.
Says, hey, so-and-so wants to go to, out for dinner on Saturday night. Oh, I can't because I've got the show or whatever. There's a lot that not only you have to sacrifice, it's all your loved ones and everyone around.
Right. Sacrifice. We at least are flexible enough to know. Yeah.
I'm putting up a gesture for 2 years. I know. He's a god.
When we do the Dungeons and Dragons thing again, and hope maybe this winter, he's killing me off the first thing. I was the only one that survived that adventure.
Die.
That's right. Die. Who you want to be? I don't know. Someone that's invincible. Question. How to order the PDF. It's all PayPal for that. And so it'll take the currency in pounds and convert it to dollars for you. And Brandon, they will send back the money for the shipping. So although they're going to take like $95 out of your thing, they'll reimburse you for the shipping. But it's all PDF.
That's nice.
This is through I was at Games, the Indy 500 I ran.
Yep. How do you do it? Right. Yeah.
Right.
How do you? And unfortunately, because of some weird circumstances, there is a 20% chance that we are actually going to miss our first week since we started this coming week because Tony will be on a plane and of course I will be recovering and
right.
the computer isn't going to be able to handle hosting. So we're in the process of trying to find somebody that can step in for us and hopefully continue it, but our streak might be over this week. Which is a bummer.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it won't be too long that you're out of commission for that.
Yeah. I'm hoping. That's we have the drinking game. Yeah, we do have the drinking game. Every time Ruff says he loves something, we drink.
Just don't make it prune juice. You'd be in trouble.
That's true. So yeah. Anyways, congrats to you and Dave. Great show. Great. The ability for you guys to keep it entertaining for almost 3 years now, and hopefully the response and the
it's 98% positive for sure. And the strange thing, because podcasting's been around for a while, I did college football 15, 16 years ago, is that no one really thought to do this. I mean, we don't know how big the community is. I mean, we can, look at our YouTube subscriber counts and go, okay, we know it's at least that many. But as far as, but yeah, no, I mean, we got lucky with that. And it's a good show. It's one that we both enjoy doing, and it shows, hopefully. So.
And to be honest, right, the shows that last have the chemistry between the hosts, right? With me and Tony, we kind of all tease each other like we're brothers and
absolutely
everything. And the chemistry between you and Dave really make the show.
Yeah, it's great, because as far as the gaming is concerned, I'm the grizzled veteran. I'm younger than he is in real life, but as far as that, I've been doing these games off and on for 30 some odd years, and he's new to it. And, someone will say, take a look at this and take a look at that. And so we both, I think, we're very fortunate that we can approach things from different angles. We don't share the same favorite sport, which I think is important, and not necessarily even the same favorite teams. And so to be able to look at it from two different points of view, I think helps. Don't always agree. So I think sometimes
if it was three people just saying the same thing over and over again,
it wouldn't work.
Nobody would come. Nobody would listen. It's that.
But again,
it's the interaction. It's the
absolutely.
Teasing, that your team beat his team, and that's the fun part. The people.
I want a T-shirt for winning the draft lottery in the NHL this year. Okay, I want merchandise. We're the only team to go from the Stanley Cup Finals to winning the draft lottery the next year.
Right. I know Dave is a big Canadians fan.
Oh yeah, Dave's a huge Canadians fan. All right.
This is a
long story. And of course,
that.
So who are you rooting for tonight? Who do you want, Carolina or the Rangers?
Carolina.
You want Carolina. You don't want the Rangers?
I do not want the Rangers. I want Carolina. I was rooting for Tampa Bay. I'm sorry. I was rooting for Toronto over Tampa Bay. And it was, nip and tuck. And I said, if the Lightning can't do it, if the Leafs can't do it, I got to find another team. So I jumped on board Carolina. I like their speed. I like their discipline. I like their just the way they do things. I like Rod Brennamore, which is the coach. I think they are, I put my hat in the ring for them.
Okay.
So I think I'm really hoping. I mean, I don't dislike the Rangers, but I think. Speaking of which, what is the? I was going to do a video on this. Round 1 of the NHL playoffs this year. Is it going to go down as one of the greatest round 1s in history?
Oh, I would think so. What are they? Five of the 8 series went the distance.
Right. 5 of 8 went the distance. Game 7 and 2 of those went into overtime.
That's what you want. I mean, it's nirvana right there.
I was flabbergasted. I was in heaven. I mean, that was back in normal world, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have baseball just starting in April. You'd have the NHL playoffs. You'd have my birthday. So like April was like the perfect month.
Well, now, there you go.
Everything was, delayed because of the season and stuff. And then I I thought that first round was amazing, and I'd never heard anyone talking about how great it, oh, it was good, it was interesting, blah blah blah. But I'm like, dude, are we going to look back in 10 years and say
Oh
this is
yeah,
one of the
I mean
best ever?
that is, yes, I think absolutely.
It was, and it was nip and tuck, nip and tuck. There was teams, down 3 games to one and came back and won 3 straight. I mean, it was two of them went into overtime. There was some surprises, and teams that were, ace seeds taking on the number one seeds that nobody gave anybody a shot to. I mean, kind of the biggest disappointment in the first round was the Nashville Predators, who got swept by Colorado. So that just meant they were really bad, or Colorado's really that
You
good.
get really hot at the right time, but over the course, I mean, you got to win 16 to win the cup, and so that you do have to prove yourself. But I mean, we get McDavid finally on an international stage in the conference final.
Yeah.
I mean, Edmonton's had more number one picks than anyone in the last 10 years, and so.
But can
I don't know.
actually, keep them in it against Colorado is the question. Oh my God.
I still think it's all Tampa's to lose. I think
you know what? The Leafs made Tampa look ordinary, but then Tampa was, I don't know if the Leafs are just that good or what, but now it looks like it's going to be the Lightning to the finals without a doubt.
They are in that same rarefied air that the Islanders went on back in the early 80s. I mean, they won 19 straight playoff series. I'm not sure that could be done. I mean, they made the finals for the 5th straight year and lost. I mean, that's just Tampa really is in that territory, I think.
Best NHL playoffs.
Yeah, it's right up there.
If you go back and look, there's not. I mean, of course, there's always 4-3 series in when you have that many different teams going at it, but that many. I mean, it was like usually the first round, half the games are over, and there's usually like 1 or 2 series that go on. So yeah, and then RJL being a big Panthers fan, I felt sorry for him against Tampa Bay, but man, Tampa.
They really are all that. I mean, you can get. I mean, like Montreal last year. Okay, you can make the final and be a flukish thing about it, or you could be like no, they're a legitimate dynasty team, regardless of how well. I mean, to get there again.
Right. Well, I mean, that kind of bringing up Montreal, we kind of talked about this on Friday night with Dave and Al.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's sports cards now. And how would you rate players? How would you rate the team? Because the team in the regular season was crap. They barely made the playoffs.
In fact, I think they were like 17th or 18th in points. So They weren't even a top 16 team. And no, I mean, Dave asked me this the other night. They're all based on the regular season. You would be almost impossible to take last year's Canadiens team and do anything with them in the playoffs.
Right. Whatever if you carded right, you would get in the playoffs and you'd lose.
Right. I don't
simulate that in a sports game.
If you took the Maple Leafs, for instance, and played them the last 3 or 4 years, this was the 5th year in a row that they couldn't get out of the first round with all that offensive talent. You play that on the tabletop, and I think the Leafs steal a cup.
Yeah.
Just because they played that well in the regular season, but whatever it is, I mean, there's something. Ballard's dead, so you can't blame him. Yeah, the mid '90s with the Red Wings dominance was awesome. I mean, how you doing, hockey fans? 76. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that, especially in hockey, I mean, they make what's the regular season really worth? Well, no, the President's Cup winner never gets to what was the last one to make the finals? The Bruins? Or did Tampa actually?
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Sure. It's been a while. I mean, they were just somebody had posted a video. I'm not, not one of our community members,
right?
About the curse of the President's Cup.
President's Cup. It was that or the Jack Adams.
You don't want it because it doesn't work for you.
Growing up, we would talk about, my dad and I would talk a little bit about hockey because he grew up in the Buffalo area, and he said, "How much is a regular season worth?" Well, it's at that point it's a 21 team league and 16 teams made the playoffs. I mean, that was, it's a little better now, but it's half the league. It's becoming
Well, I
baseball.
mean, if you're talking about why they play the regular season, the importance of regular season, we'll find out tonight. Rangers, Carolina, because Carolina has not lost at home yet, and if
If
that
they,
continues, they will, because of the home field advantage, they will move on, and they'll send the Rangers home. Same thing against Boston. They didn't win a game in Boston, but they didn't lose at home, and because they had a home field advantage.
hold serve. If you hold serve, it's all you got to do.
Yep, I think so. Tampa wins 3 in a row. I will say at this point, and I don't know how things are going to go out west, but Colorado, do not sleep on Colorado.
It is so hard to win 3 in a row. I mean, when the Islanders made those 5 straight finals, first round was not best of 7. You got to win 3 straight years of each 4 rounds of 7 to win the cup.
Yeah.
And your off season is short. And I think they're going to continue because their TV partners are the same as the NBA of not overlapping final versus final. They'll continue to stagger it out, as ridiculous as mid-June hockey is. But yes, I mean, so you have a very limited off season. You've played all these extra games. You have all that wear and tear on your body. And
as you get older.
As you get older.
Yeah, absolutely. 2-3 years ago, Tampa won the President's Cup and was swept in round 1 by Columbus.
So there you go. The curse of the President's Cup.
Yeah, it's a thing. It really, it's really a thing. I believe it is like in most sports. I feel the mental part for the athlete is 100% more important than the physical part for any athlete going into the playoffs, into the whatever playoff they're doing. Because
late 80s, early 90s, when I was at that age when sports just meant everything, and you'd get into those Bulls runs before they finally got past Detroit, and you'd see what the psychological stuff that Isaiah and Rodman and what the bad boys would do to them, and they would be so exhausted. I mean, there was no question that Chicago was a talented bunch, but they couldn't get past Detroit. And when they finally did, I mean, it didn't matter who they played in the finals; they were just going to destroy them. I mean, they got the aging Magic Lakers, but when the picture of Jordan just sobbing his eyes out, holding that trophy, it's like, no, it is a war of mental attrition.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA play and the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs, but specifically the NBA, because it's physically grueling and mentally grueling, and it's night after night, and it goes on for weeks.
Yeah, and you were talking about how the Leafs haven't won in the second round, and it's been like 16 years. But I mean, with this recent core, it's been 5-year failure.
How do they not get past the first round?
Right. I mean, they were heavy favorites against Montreal last year. And they were up 3-1, and it's like, oh, this is the year. It's a shoe-in.
It's like, yeah, Montreal made the playoffs in a year we snuck in. Ha ha, that's great. But here we are. We're still here. What?
Yeah, you just never know, and I think that's why doing sports sim replays is so important to people, is because it's that. Well, what should have happened? Can I, play these teams based upon the stats and everything that they should have?
Get our teams further. I know that a few times I've done some Super Bowl pre-plays over the years. I don't watch a lot of modern football, but it helps me under a colorful language. Yes. Well, yes. Helps me understand how the teams go, because I understand how the games work. The engines work, and so if I could figure out how to play them on the tabletop, then certainly when it comes time to watch the real games, like, oh, okay, I understand this now.
Right, absolutely. Hockey, of course, one of my favorite sports, one of your favorite sports, and it's great. second round I don't think was as interesting. Of obviously only, I believe, one.
Just the one, and the fact
One
that
went to full distance.
Tampa and handled Florida so easily, and good for Edmonton for getting
Farnley over the hump.
finally over the hump. Yeah,
right. But sometimes that's what it takes, right? If you look at Pittsburgh, Washington Capitals, every year.
Especially when they were the Patrick and played.
Pittsburgh would knock them out. Pittsburgh would knock them out. And Farnley in the Stanley Cup 2018 season, they finally beat Pittsburgh. And what happened? They went on.
They won the cup.
And so it's just, sometimes it's just getting over that hump and getting, letting that pressure, that mental block get removed. I know when Steve Young took over for Joe Montana and the pressure he had and couldn't win the big games and this, that, and the other thing. And when he finally won that Super Bowl, what's the first thing he did? He
took the monkey off his back. Somebody take the monkey off my back. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, we talk about it, but I think the players that live it, the athletes that have to live through that.
And in Young's case, because he was so highly overpaid to go to the USFL, which again, was good quality football, and then came into a bad situation in Tampa where they didn't have anybody around him. And then, you knew how good he possibly was. Oh yeah, go back up Joe Montana. No pressure with you for that. Yeah, take that gorilla off my back.
Absolutely. The baseball season so far, it's been pretty interesting. What do you think biggest surprise started? We're at the quarter point almost.
I haven't watched as much as I normally would. But, I'm not surprised the Mets have so many injuries. They're still the Mets.
Wow. But, yeah, I was watching a show the other day on the Mets, and I think it was like the pregame to the Sunday Night Baseball or something. And
right.
They were talking about how are the Mets winning? They don't even have DeGrom. Scherzer's on the shelf for 6 weeks. One of their best infielders out for 6 months, and yet they are dominating.
Showalter. Showalter is one of the best regular season managers in the modern times. Just don't ask Zach Britton what happens in the playoffs. Yeah. That's.
Can
that's
he get
the
over thing. Last year it was Dusty Baker, right? Can he lead the team to the big dance? Can he win it finally? 30, 40, 50 years, whatever he's been in it, been labeled as can't win the big one.
Can't win the big one. I covered the Nationals the year they lost to the Cubs in the first round, and the weather wasn't great those last 2 games in Chicago when they weren't quite sure whether Strasburg could pitch or blah 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 blah, and and the Nationals hadn't gotten over that hump either. If they couldn't get out of the first round, and that was the year they pretty much won the division in August, and then Harper got hurt in mid-August, and he still wasn't ready by the time that playoff series, and you could just kind of tell. People love playing for Dusty. Everyone that I talked to who was in the know, the reporters in DC, and the couple times I talked to someone from ESPN, everyone loved Dusty, but for whatever the reason, and sometimes, it's just like rare play. How are we going to mess this up again? But it just, after a while, again, it's like the Maple Leafs. It's too often for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah.
And with the Astros, he's got all that talent there. And I'm sure that they have, after garbage can gate, they have a lot to prove.
Yeah.
But the way that the baseball playoffs are now structured is it's a tournament. It really isn't the best of the regular season. It's who can survive for those 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So many good things. Thanks everyone for coming out. Philip Rennan, Hockey Unreal, Dave Garner, Jason Gregory, Hockey Fan 76, Sports Time Machine, DC Cat Studio, Tabletop Sports Delaware, T. Scott Howard, I'm sorry if I'm missing Ben Crowbeard Felton. Thank you, guys. He's new to the. Oh well, let's introduce him to the community here. Hi, guys.
Hi, Ben.
Well, that is wow. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Everyone feels that way, and you know, I'm lucky to be part of your guys' community as well. You know, it has been. You know, I was welcomed, and it's great to know that people nowadays, 6-8 years later, are still being welcomed, and they feel like part of the group.
You know, when I started playing these games, I mean, I've always been a sports fan. You know, I got my own TV at 11 because someone got ESPN on cable, and their mother did not want to watch the garbage that was, you know, Australian rules football and billiards all day that her son did. So I got a TV at 11 years old. But, you know, when I started playing these games in college, I mean, no one ever always played face-to-face, but no one ever dreamed that there were other people who not only played the stuff, but wrote replays. And because of the internet, it's not something you can really share with the spouse or the partner. What'd you do today? Well, Mike Schmidt hit 4 home runs for me. Who's Mike Schmidt? Is that what you do something with it? You know, and so you just kind of feel that way. If someone does something or even a Scrabble or a Rubik's Cube or you know, like group activity. I remember the time that we played Settlers and had great pizza and beer till, you know, 2 a.m. I mean, this is not an activity that loans itself well to being social. Yeah. You know, we're all kind of kings in our own little kingdom of what we want to play, and the fact that you know, there can be tension about, well, you do this, you play this way. Well, no, that's the wrong way to play it. You know how it goes. But
it is. We're sharing a solo experience.
Yes, absolutely.
To people. And it's amazing that people want to share this experience with you.
Incredibly so. And what you learn and what you play and what you pick up on. And talking to Tebow the other day, and he's talking about his steroid league project, which is, you know, basically takes 6 or 7 months, or depending on, you know, how much time he has, and does a league, you know, one of the 2 leagues. My cat has decided to show off for you guys there this afternoon. And so I'm thinking in the back of my head as he's talking about that, it's like, well, that's a great idea, you know, and it's just all these, you know, talking about different projects. And yeah, it's like, oh, wow, that sounds like fun. Mm. And you can do it with this and do it with that. But yes.
Yeah. And Tebow, great guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Listened to it, and I knew he said that he was wearing his Cardinals hat.
He did. He came on with a Cardinals hat on.
So I appreciate that. And, you know, next time you talk with him, tell him I give him the thumbs up in my
absolutely. Absolutely.
Tough question. And then, you know, I don't know where. You know, there is no script. I don't have anything.
Nope.
Whatever happens. Wherever it goes, it goes.
Just every time we go, there's never a script.
We had this question lingering because you're a baseball guy, you're a hockey guy,
right?
You're a football guy, right? You have the power. You have the magic wand. We're going to give you the magic wand, right? And you can go back and undo and change one sporting event.
Oh dear!
One sporting event you go back and change the outcome of. What would it be?
My 14-year-old self would say the '86 World Series, just so I wouldn't have to. Just so that part of my childhood would have been a lot happier. Wow.
And it could be.
It could be anything.
Horse race. It could be soccer. It could be any one sporting event. You could change the outcome.
I think the first thing I ever got really upset with in sports was a horse race. As a matter of fact, I was a big fan of Aladar.
Okay.
78 Triple Crown. Steve Cawthon, who was a kid, he was 18 years old,
Yeah.
and Affirmed won the Triple Crown, and I believe they went head to head. It was 1 and 2 in all 3 races. Honestly, I want Aladar to win the Belmont, so Affirmed doesn't get his Triple Crown, because I was so, again, an irrational 7-year-old kid,
Wow.
But I guess it changed that, but. In a more serious thing, um, I would probably say, in to settle all the strike of 81 for baseball and the strike of 94, because although I think the players have always had legitimate issues when they have grievances with the owners, it just comes across as everyone being greedy. And I know yes, now it really is millionaires versus billionaires, but it just kind of takes away from the fact of what a good game baseball is. And when it's played at the right level, there is no better drama than a game that's coming down the stretch. One of the games that you probably revere most, Game 6 of the 11 World Series, the David Freese game.
Yeah.
And that's what you want people who are casual fans to see. There was no great. As growing up the Red Sox fan, no one felt worse than I did for Nelson Cruz. 1 strike away twice to have that happen, and then there, couldn't have felt any better than I did for David Freese for winning that. That's why we watch and love the sport, and so. Anytime that you get going with, I hate that baseball was better 40 years ago stuff, because it isn't. It's different. You might like it better, but it's not, it is what it is. And so, yes, I wish. So I guess to answer your question for the purely unselfish Aladar fan club, that we would stop poo-pooing the game, and that the powers that be would promote what a tremendous sport baseball is, and not try to wish it was something else, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. So let's see what the chat has to say about their wish they would change. So T. Scott Howard says he wished Ron would have won the match against the
banner. The banner has 7 thumbtacks in it, okay? It's not going after me. And, of course, ID's wrestling match the next night.
That, oh, my God.
There are...
That is going to flash before my eyes. Oh, my God. Because
if there's one, because you're never going to control what you're going to be remembered for in the community. And if there's one thing it's not going to be any game that I played or conversation that we had. Is my wife... Yeah, that too. Tribe fan, it's my wife coming in to pull that banner off of me there.
Franco got hung up on the line in that last play against the Raiders. There you go. 83 Sox losing the Orioles in the ALCS is what he changed.
Yep.
And actually, somebody matches what I would go back and change, and that is, surprisingly enough, Hockey Fan 76 would change the outcome of the Bills and Giants Super Bowl.
Not a gimme. That was, if there was a perfect game plan in a football game, it's what Parcells came up with in that game. You had to keep Buffalo off the field, and he did. And what
they can do, you could just see. We talked about the mentality of how athletes are. You could just see the Bills getting frustrated and more frustrated, and they would drop.
That was their best shot. That was absolutely their best shot.
They were not used to this. Wait a minute. You're going to give me this 5-yard out, but then you're going to kill me with like 5 guys swarming me. That's not how you're supposed to do this. Why are you doing this to me? It's not fair.
I never blame Buckner for what happened that night in New York, and I never blame Norwood for what if 47-yarder on grass is not a gimme kick.
Absolutely. Al will attest to it. You miss them as many as you make. So it was a 50-50 shot. But there's a lot of plays that lead up to that caused that situation. The third down play where Andre Reed, they needed 3rd down and 8. They needed 8 yards. Kelly hits Reed, and instead of keeping running, he tries to stop, and the defender grabs him, gets him on the shoulder, turns him, and stops him a yard short. And if he wouldn't have done that, like literally wouldn't have done that, Andre Reed would have had the first down, and who knows, right?
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, going back to the gaming aspect of it, could you even find a David Tyree card in Stratomatic or Appa? And
Right.
what would it be? But he made the biggest catch and the biggest game, and
Yeah. That's funny because, they're, these players like that come out of nowhere and do something spectacular, but they only played 3 games this season, so they don't have a card.
Timmy Smith, that one quarter in the Super Bowl against the Broncos, where the Redskins just go off and put up 28 or 35 or whatever it was in the second quarter, and you never heard from him again. You couldn't replicate that in a million years on the tabletop, but he did.
Hey, Forrest, how you doing? Thanks for coming out. These guys, Howard said he'd give the ball to Marshawn Lynch.
I don't know how. I mean, how Pete Carroll still sleeps at night choking away that Super Bowl. How do you throw it when you got a guy that's averaging 6 yards a touch?
I mean, there's a lot
try to explain it, but
yeah, I mean, there's, we're going to surprise them, right? Because they're expecting the run, they're going to jam the line. Here's the thing, right? Just like when I play my military history games, right? History's written by the winners.
Of course it is. Right? And if Lynch is stopped,
right? You hand the ball off to Lynch, right? And he gets stopped for a 3-yard loss. Then everyone says, "What the hell were you thinking? You knew they were going to crowd the line. They had to stop Lynch." Right. So you get into this no-win situation. It's all based, on how whoever won gets to determine, well, you shouldn't have done that. Right. That's what they would have said no matter what.
Yep.
And we could say the same thing about the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl against if Matt Ryan would have just taken that third down and just spiked it in the ground, and instead of taking an 11-yard sack, they could have kicked the field goal, been up 8 or 9 or whatever it was with 3 or 4 minutes left, and they would have sealed the deal. But instead, he gets taken out of field goal range, and the rest
of Florida editions of the Boston Globe had already done their front page and were being printed as that game was going on. And the picture on that edition, and your guys' edition down there, is Brady on the turf looking at that pick 6 at the end of the first half, and the headline being so close. I mean, it was Dewey defeats Truman all over again, 28-3.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is so good. I'm having so much fun talking with you, Ron, and Dad and everyone. This is trying to shuffle my cards as we're doing this. This is why we do it, really, is to have fun and talk about it. And the interactions with everyone and just hearing what they have to say. And it's great. I love it. And it's been a long time coming to talk with you. So a lot of people probably didn't even know what we're talking about with the banner. But you know what? The banner will go down in history.
The banner will go down in history.
As one of the greatest moments
in eBay special
live history.
A logo that they used for maybe 18 months, and it will go down in history. The meatball ABC Sports logo from the late 80s. If it was the CBS banner I bought is so big that she refuses to put it back up because you need 3 wall hooks because it's an outdoor banner. And I don't know because they used it forever, so I could tell you it was used for a football game or the PGA Tour or whatever else CBS did. It's just too big.
Yeah.
So, but
Big Sports Simmer, you play a lot of different games.
I do.
I asked this the other night, so I'll ask you and hear.
Sure.
Are we living in the golden age, my friend?
Oh, that's been my mantra since I started on YouTube. Was that this is absolutely the golden age of it because so many different stats are now publicly available. I mean, we've talked about this when Dave and I talked to the Spiders guy, and we've alluded to this in some of our interviews. I mean, you used to be able to have only way you'd find the stuff are in big 800-page books with 5-point type, and now everything is just what's available on the sports reference sites. I mean, it's not only the counting stats, but your basic sabermetrics, WAR and ERA plus and OPS plus, and what their yak is, and what happened after they puked in the locker room before the game. I mean, you can find that. And so as long as you know how math works, you can make a game that's very entertaining and very realistic, because the stuff that was locked away in the vaults at Elias and Stats Inc. are available to anybody. And so if you have a love and a passion for a sport, I mean, look at Anthony Crooks from Glory Days Boxing, just all the stuff that's available out there. And okay, I don't want to make a game exactly like Title Bout, or I don't want to make a baseball game that is like Strat or APA, but I know I can build my mousetrap like this, and it's enjoyable, and it's small operations and people who are hopefully receptive to criticism and go back and forth. We had on Joe Bryant a while ago from Payoff Pitch, which dollars and donuts. You buy those cards; those are the best made cards in the business. You have some of those seasons. I saw you unbox them, and I mean, that is Strat and APA. Although APA's cards, I think, are better from the factory than Strat's. They're good cards, but I mean, you get something that you could, unless you spill soda on them or your beverage of choice, those cards are going to last you a lifetime. Yeah, and if you on a full season replay, you could do that, and those cards are going to hold up. And I don't think he realizes just what a impact he's made on the community, because it expects that in smaller gamers to sit there and go, I've toyed with this idea. I think we've all done some sort of game design, whether it's been published or not, what you like. And yeah, just because of what's out there and because of the PDF, it's also portable now. I thought once started to get more into public and the streaming thing and all that it would kind of shift to your cell phone. You'd be able to bring it. The portability would be there. You'd play it on an app and kind of move on from there. But because of the PDF, and because you don't have to worry about international shipping, this or that. Yes, you have to print it or yourself, or do it however you want to play, but it just makes so much more available. And there are so many good game designs out there that, yes, I can sit here tonight and I did it last night on my channel. It was kind of clunky to do, but I did a same-day replay of the Indy 500. Wow. That's, that would have been unheard of 5 years ago. To sit there and do any event on the tabletop the day the event is run.
Wow. That is mind-boggling.
Yes. And so absolutely. And I think that because so much more is available, and because people now know that there is a community that is willing to embrace and help, new design that just wasn't there anymore. That just wasn't there 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. Right. And so, yes, I just think that the more we make available, newspapers.com, box scores, articles, transactions, you can do all this research yourself. And if you get a project, Dave and I, every once in a while, he'll ask about something, and I had the subscription, and I can call up the Globe from such and such a date in 1974 and tell him what happened and all this and that. And yes, I think it not only makes it can create a better game, but I think you as the replayer can immerse yourself so much more in whatever era it is you want to play.
Absolutely. I agree. Putting together a Super Bowl the day before the game.
Chris did that the year that the Rams and the Patriots played. That was my introduction to APA football, and he hand wrote all those cards out. I remember watching that, and you're like, oh, how close are you going to be to that?
Right. And it's always the intrigue, right? Well, what's going to happen in the game? What could happen?
Well, it could happen. Oh, I never thought of
that. It's always interesting playing it before it happens because you don't have a reference. See, as a sports sim replayer, we're always playing after the fact. So
we play after, absolutely.
knowledge, oh yeah, David Freese, he hits a home run to win it in the extra innings, and the Cardinals win this game. We know that after we're playing.
Right. You have that
something. You don't have that knowledge of, Brady's going to throw 5 touchdown passes, and the Patriots are going to win 35-0 or whatever.
Right. But no, I remember him doing that and creating the cards.
Wow. I would say, yeah. I mean, as you know, I have 18 different baseball games.
Yes.
Baseball card and dice sims.
My baseball games have baseball games. So.
Yeah. Which is a problem. To be honest. Which is a problem.
Depends on who you're talking to.
It's a problem because
your like, closets say it's
I
a
literally
problem.
I have my triple play baseball ready to go. I have my Stratomac. This is Apple, dude.
Apple, yeah.
I have my let me get it. Status Pro Advanced cards ready to go, and I have my Play Ball baseball cards ready to go. I've also been sleeving my Inside the Crease cards. Yeah, I mean, you just don't have enough time to play all these games.
And they all offer something different too. I think that's the other thing, and again, I think it goes for the greatness of this particular era is that everyone looks at this with a different set of eyes and comes across as to play it, and there should be something to everyone's taste, and if not, they can create something to their own taste.
Yeah, and there are many different simulations that come in a variety of difficultiness, right? Basic.
You could go from something that's a final score to something like Inside Pitch, which or replay, which goes through a variety of different steps. They're all enjoyable. It depends on what kind of experience are you looking for? Something that's more for the casual fan, or something for I want to do a serious replay of X, and this is how I'm going to do it. I mean, there's just so many different ways to do it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this the other night. I get what I call replay paralysis because I get ready to go and I get all the cards and set up and ready to play, and then I go, oh, you know what? I think I'd rather, I'm going to try and finish this first.
Yeah.
I do. I spend the time, get these all ready to go, and I go, oh shit, no, you know what? Somebody asked me a question about play ball the other day, and I'm like, oh, I should probably do a game in play ball so they can see it. And then I'm like, oh, I watched Kurt Berglund. He just played Status Pro, so no, I need to play my Status Pro.
Yes.
In my head, like I can't do anything because I want to do everything.
It really is a monkey see, monkey do type deal. You get, half asleep one night on YouTube, Barry Sanders 25 greatest runs. You go, oh my God. Oh my, that sort of thing, or Michael Jordan's 15 best 3-pointers, or Larry Bird's trash talking, stories, something like that. Going, yeah.
And of course, we get, as you mentioned, a variety of ways to play. We can play, we can buy the actual cards. We can actually buy PDFs now. A lot of these sports sim you've got a program you can play on the computer now.
You can play on the computer. There's dice rollers, or you could do a random thing. Right. I just never thought that the PDF would be such the game changer for this type of gaming that it's become. I mean, I know in board gaming, there's whole Facebook groups dedicated to print and play games. And
right. And I'm not even talking about some of the free games that are given out there just because people are like, hey, I created this game. If you want to play it, great.
Getting into the wargaming part, which I know you're familiar with. I mean, it's like, how many ways are there to resolve the Battle of Normandy? Yes, that whoever Lewis Research is,
we love him. We love him.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, look at all these games that you can play and
And
just
that's
sit
just the
down and
baseball.
yeah, these are just baseball. There's of course tons and tons of
Full
soccer,
soccer and hockey,
football,
football.
baseball, bowling, boxing, golf, cricket, grid zone racing, and that kind of leads me, I mean, into right. Like there are literally sports games where you can take a sumo wrestling tournament
Joe
and
Bryan did a sumo wrestling game.
right.
I mean, you're familiar with Roberto Schiavini. He has every Olympic sport ever. If you want to replay Nadia Comaneci's perfect Olympics in '76, you can do it. You can
Absolutely.
do it. It just blows my mind what's out there and the creativity of some of these people. It makes me feel stupid, but I mean, the first time I pulled out a Shavini game is like, okay, how much fun can this be? And I did the 8,400-meter men's, the final, and you're reading through and you're cross-referencing and you're rolling, and I've got the Excel, adding up all the numbers and that. And it wasn't Carl Lewis who won. He finished second. He won the silver. But the guy who won the gold for me won it with the exact winning time that Lewis ran that final in '84. Like,
Wow.
and that was kind of a mind blown moment. That again, it's basic algebra. Here's, okay, your average time should be 10 seconds, 10.75 seconds or whatever it is. And I'll grade for this. And if you get the good dice rolls, and so there's enough variability, so Lewis isn't going to win every time that you run that race. But yeah, we hit the winning time right on the head, 9:93, I think it was.
Wow.
And so
that is awesome.
And so that's a seller right there. Oh,
Right. That's absolutely right. Just trying to catch up on the Chad D. Scott Howard. Yeah, I appreciate the good. I take no credit, dude. No credit whatsoever. That is just a discussion me and Anthony had,
and he's so good. He's so good.
Anthony is one of the best. And as I talked previously, the people reached out to me, and Anthony reached out, and I just love the guy.
He's just, here's an Anthony story for you. I didn't realize I've known him for probably the better part of 25 years.
Really?
Because we both were on a board for a game called Front Office Football GM Sim. Like the to die for football GM, American football, not Football Manager and soccer.
Uh-huh.
That, and I knew him. He was, I forget what his name was there. And so Al, he's Lee Anthony on Facebook. And so I knew him through there, and somehow we'd friended through that board. And so when Al started talking about Anthony in the boxing game, and we got to know each other, and I went to find him because I knew his last name, to realize that we were already mutual friends. And I sent him a note. It's like, you do realize that we had talked before, but it's all through avatar names and stuff like that. You didn't know me as Ron.
Wow. That's cool.
So that's why. Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Ben says playing sumo basho at the moment. Wow. What's the chances we talk about it? And there it is. I mean, you can play tennis. You can play roller derby. You can play any of the main sports. You can play golf. And let me tell you, golf is
I think the most intense. I think it's the most
super fun. I can't believe how fun it is.
Because it's the one sport I think that you make the most difference in how someone does.
Right.
The cards are going to kind of correct you in football in the big four. But in golf, whatever decision you make, if you want to pull a Phil Mickelson or the poor guy last week at the PGA, don't pull a driver on the 18th.
Oh,
that sort of thing. You try because your brain is fried and you got to post a number. Like, no. A 3-wood gets you, wins you the damn tournament.
Highlight, yeah, that's another one.
There is. I've seen I've seen a guy that streams a highlight. I can't follow it to save my life, but he loves it.
Yeah, we were out to dinner the other night, and I saw a highlight up on.
Do they still do that down there?
No, they don't do it in Florida. I don't know where they were doing it from, but I'm
Connecticut,
like,
they were doing it for the longest time.
oh yeah. I mean, they just stopped maybe not too long ago. They don't do the dog racing down here either. So,
No.
yeah, they kind of canceled that. Dodgeball as well has been become very popular
On the Ocho, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of great stuff out there.
Yeah, it just yeah. To
Great stuff.
basic premise being that, I mean, this with technology the way it is and what's available out there to do the research. Yes, this is the golden age of it, and I'm glad that some of the bigger, quote unquote, bigger companies. Because remember, there's no Mattel, there's no Hasbro in this business. I mean, as much as Stratomatic and Apple are the big players in the room, I mean, Apple's a one-person operation. Strat maybe 5 or 6, including the softball champion of Long Island. But we're not, we're not talking about maybe Strat does $1 million in sales or Napa does a lot in sales, but a lot of that goes back into printing. It costs money to do that, and it costs money to ship, and it costs money to design all this stuff from year to year. So, the profit margins aren't that big. Mm-hmm. Yes, I mean, it's, yeah, I really do.
You've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself, let's see, what's the word I want to use? I want to carefully choose my word.
Yep. Okay.
Morphing your thoughts and opinions and likes and dislikes. So what word would I use for that? Have you, I'll use the word I use with Al, maturing.
Okay. Oh, absolutely.
Has your sports sim matured as longer you've gone into this hobby?
Of course. I think as we get older, I think the experience that we want from our gaming changes as you're exposed to more and more stuff. As someone with physical issues, obviously anything that's on a computer is going to be a hell of a lot more accessible than something that is a card and dice thing. I don't own a set of Strat cards or APA cards or anything like that. It doesn't do any good to do so because I can't physically do that. But I think the more you play, the more in your head you kind of know this is how I want to experience the game. And so going from being introduced to Strat in college, one of the large reasons why I didn't make it in college is because I found games. It wasn't booze, it wasn't girls, it was sports. Surprise, right. Surprise. And then, you get to it and you move out on your own and you get married. And, we've all done that, or a lot of us have done it. And when you come back to it, and I came back to it in the late 90s, what was available on the computer had exploded. I had the first edition, the second, and 10. So from 1950 on, it all came on a CD. And so, yes, you get used to doing that with the computer, and that, and then largely because of the show, you get exposed to all sorts of different things. And so when you see what's in front of you and it can do that, yes, at this point in my gaming experience, I really am now a firm believer in being able to see where the results come from. I want to, visualize it, even if it's a dice roll or a fast action card. I at least can see how that goes and visualize in my head how that result happened. There's nothing wrong with being told what happened and reacting, but I liken doing a replay to writing a novel. Mm-hmm. Once you're done with it, you've pretty much written a novel. You've written your own story. It's never going to be the exact same as what it was in real life, but I think it'd be rather boring if you knew in advance that there was, no way that the Red Sox were going to win because they didn't win in real life or what have you, or God help you if you're a Maple Leaf fan when it comes to that. I mean, why bother?
Absolutely.
And so yes. So my feelings about that type of gaming are always constantly evolving. And I think a lot of it, again, comes from the fact that Dave and I are exposed to so much. And when you have someone on, you want to at least be familiar with what you're talking about. And yes, it's like as a gamer, you obviously want experiences that you enjoy. This should never be drudgery.
And that is, well, I'll get to that. But I was going through some of my files, trying to clean up stuff. And I thought it was very interesting that, believe it or not, I'll show you my little screen here. I have the Action PC Sports
2010
all the way back to 2000 or 2010. I was flabbergasted. I'm like, oh my God, that is literally like 12 years ago.
I thought I was bad saving those.
Right? And I got me to thinking, like, wow, you've been doing this and you've had this stuff for a hell of a long time.
Yes.
How, I mean, the difference between the 2010 version of anything and the 2022 version is like night and day. And I actually loaded up the 2010 version and the new version, and I just think, wow, this is everything. Literally everything has regressed, obviously, like that's how life is, but
right.
It's just, let's see what my sports folder is up to now. I think it's over 80 gigs.
Yeah, it's about what mine is. Just a DK
it's
data folder.
It's unbelievable that I would have files that I've downloaded. Programs, sheets that I made.
Where did you get these photos? I have no idea where I've got those photos. I've been doing this for so long. The websites have disappeared, boarded up, moved to Tahiti. I don't know where half the stuff I get it from.
Right,
people,
exactly.
And so
and it's like, the folders that I have in here are just
I
233 folders, where it's like, oh my God, we're talking ASG, we're talking dice boxing, what's it called? Yeah, dice boxing. It's like, holy cow, I remember getting these files. Deep Drive Baseball, defensive sheets, Diamond Mine Baseball, and I'm looking through all these, and I'm like, oh my God, there is so much stuff there. I'm like piled underneath the stuff. Which is great. Don't get me wrong. It's
you talked earlier about replay paralysis, and that's the reason why. Okay, I'm interested in doing this. Well, how do you want to do it?
Right, exactly. Right. I know I'm really bad about this. I'm really bad about it. I have started 300 projects in the last
year.
And I get like 4 games in, and I'm like, oh wait, squirrel.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I can't focus. I've actually, I think I talked about this the other night. I've actually only ever finished one full season replay in my entire lifetime, and that was the 1989 Bo Jackson replay of the Kansas City Royals, and that was because I literally forced myself to do it.
That's one of the reasons why I started doing this stuff online was, okay, you could start another project that if I started it, I kind of felt an obligation to finish it, which I still struggle with all the football replays. But this 85 season, when it's done, will be the 4th one that I've finished.
Wow. So kudos to you guys that can finish them. I mean, it is a lot of dedication, time, effort.
And because there's so much out there now that there wasn't, and you, for whatever real reason, I have found, how you doing, Clinton? A fascination with the 61-62 NBA season. Just 10 years before I was born. So it wasn't anything I have firsthand experience with by any way, shape, or form. But Chamberlain averaging 50 points a year, and the Celtics just being so deep, and Oscar Robertson averaging think about it. For the season, he averaged a triple-double. It wasn't until James Harden did it a couple years. It's just obscene. It's a guard.
Wow.
And it's just a completely different style of basketball. They would shoot free throws after every foul, and it's just it must have been painful to watch. Okay, we played for 15 seconds and now we go to the line for a free throw. But
Right.
I just find that season beyond fascinating. Don't ask me why.
I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean,
games from first. Yeah, it's mind blowing, right?
it really is, and there's an audience for it.
Absolutely.
There's an
There's
audience for it.
plenty of people that, for whatever reason, they want to check out what's going on. They get this connection with you on, what's happening. They ask questions, they're involved, and it's like, wow, this really, I mean, sports simming, unless you have a face-to-face opponent, is really a solo
Well,
experience.
I think the one thing with the computer-based games is it's easier to see and easier to follow. I think the one thing that, especially
That's
the
true. That's
action
true.
PC, is that you don't have to sit there and Jeff, we've all done it. We've all done it. Is that you don't have to explain how the game works. I was trying to do that replay last night of the Indy 500. It's a game I knew that would not stream well at all. It's all dice rolling and all that, and so you take a few minutes to go through the field and how they finished, and you watch the race, and then you try to explain how the game works, and then eventually, oh yeah, you got to run the race, and it's just when you're literally standing behind someone's shoulder rolling dice, and you can't make heads or tails out of it, you're going to get lost. And that's the one thing with the computer based games is that you're playing the game, and sometimes you can have to explain what you're doing, but it really is more and more of a conversation. That's one of the reasons why I think baseball works so well, is because you can work in that conversation with your chat and have it go within the flow of the game.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I would tend to agree that baseball is the easiest. What would you say is the hardest sport to? Mm,
To stream,
yeah, just because of the time, or because of the length of the game, or the complexity of
basketball,
the game. Basketball,
basketball by a mile.
really?
Um,
Mm.
Football, again, it's you could slow it down like baseball. I mean, you have to. What I don't think newer viewers understand is that not only are we streaming the game, but we're playing the game at the same time and trying to make what we think is the right decision. And the best laid plans of mice and men with some of this stuff,
Right.
and entertain an audience and try to make it look like that we're not trying to make, because I do both offenses when I play football, try not to make us look like I'm making a certain team lose. Because really, once you get to the point when you're entertaining other people, unless you're doing a specific one team replay, I don't care who wins. I want you to sit there at the end of an hour and a half and go, I had a really good time. Now, the chat may have talked about everything but what was there. That's not my job to do that. It's whatever you guys want to talk about. In basketball, Dave Little does a tremendous job, but that's 2 hours to do a game, which is longer than it does to take a football game. And you got to determine who gets every shot and what do I want to do, and all that. And especially because basketball games, they don't tend to be close.
Right.
And so you
Right.
take a while to do. If you're looking up and you've played the first half and you got a counter on your screen, it's taking an hour and 10 minutes for us to get here.
Right.
And it's the Sixers 74 and the Lakers 38. I mean, that's pretty extreme, but you have to fill that time somehow. Now, that's how real broadcasters do it. And basketball is the one sport I've actually called on the radio. I think basketball is a great radio sport because you are not constantly in transition. Adi Jester walks it up, crosses the timeline, stands at the top of the 3-point line, looks foul line extended right, check it with the 17-footer off. You could paint that mental picture in your mind. And doing games from a streaming basis like we do, it isn't a pure television call, and you can't make it a pure radio call. And so how much do you add to that, and how much do you subtract to that? Because if you could see it, I don't need to tell you that. But
Right.
but basketball is the longest to play just for the general length. Now, if I'm just playing by myself, I would still say basketball, but you can stop when you're bored.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't do that in the stream. Hockey, an hour to an hour 15, and that's about right. Again, if you're not going to be good at everything, and hockey it's a game that requires. Mike Emmerich was so good at calling hockey. Somehow, in the speed of that game, he could work in a story. About Sidney Crosby's grandmother, had gallbladder surgery on Thursday, drives and fires, and she'll be fine. And after the face-off, we'll show you a picture. She's on our Zoom. How he did that is beyond me, because it's back and forth and back and forth. So baseball and football, I think, are the easiest two, because you can kind of control the pace of that. And get in your stories and get in your chat and all that. But as far, in baseball, of course, if you just play it solo, I can do a 3-game series in Strat Super Advanced on the computer in the time it takes me to play one football game.
Right.
You can do that in 20 minutes.
Right. But of course, you got the longer season for the baseball.
You have a longer season, and again, that's not, you're just playing for yourself. Just like if you're sitting down on the table and doing that, you understand how the game flows, and you know how the mousetrap works, and hopefully you like it. I mean, you play any game enough, and the flaws are gonna be apparent. There is no such thing as a perfect game.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the maturity of learning the games.
Understanding is that,
hey, this game, right? I love this game, but for the reasons that this game does its thing. I also love this game, which is completely different, and there's different reasons why I love this game.
I don't necessarily get hung up on the accuracy of games. I don't mean that I want, my fourth line defenseman to be a 50-goal scorer, or for the fifth starter on a staff to go 20-2. That's not what I want. It's more about, for me, plausibility and how much, what kind of story am I telling with it? And one of the things about doing the Action PC baseball replays and just kind of parachuting into certain series and not doing a single team replay is that you don't know how the computer has left you for the next day. You get, a 4-starter in a game that Team X has to win, and you look when you're setting it up for the exact lineup and see that the bullpen went 8 innings in a 12-inning game. It's like, okay, I got this guy is barely going to get you 100 pitches. You better hope he can at least, keep them under 4, but he has to go 6 or 7. And that becomes the challenge. And how do you do, you not only have to tell the story to other people, because these are the replays that get shared, but you also have to figure out, and this was one of the troubles when I did the Indy 500 thing last night, how do you tell the story to yourself? Because if you're buying the story, it's easy to sell others the story. And if you can't, if you're kind of sounding iffy with it, that doesn't mean it's a bad game. That's not, David and I've talked a lot in the last few weeks about, and you do a great job with this. How do you effectively show cards and dice on camera and make it that people want? Because if you play the game, you're going to sit and watch. You can speak the language. You know what where those card results come from. But Dave showing off Hockey Bones, and I've watched a couple of his, and he does a great job. But I get lost, and your eyes start to glaze. So,
as a YouTuber, you guys know, you have limited space. You try to get the camera right, the lighting right, the sound right. I mean, you have to have a microphone.
It is not just turn on the camera and go. No,
it's just crazy the amount of effort just to produce one.
Just to produce it, and then I think it gives cards and dice a bad name, because look, I believed in this auto racing game enough that I wanted to show it off. It was someone that was talking to one of us to maybe after an interview, and I think they were talking about the play games, and they don't. You can watch and go, okay, yeah, I get this, I get that, but until you buy the game, put it on your desk or table and play it, it's a completely different experience. Like, oh, and you can't possibly. It's very hard to show that off when you're trying to show it off, as opposed to, okay, here's the directions and here's this and here's how we're going to do that. Like, oh, because you have to break that immersion in your own head to describe what it is that I want you to see, as opposed to
excellent point. Yes.
As opposed to the computer games where it's doing all the bookkeeping and dice rolling or random memorizing behind you, and you're just left with the result. Now, I've played enough of the action PC games to know that those results are going to be honest. That, yes, I believe that it's not trying to get me to point A. My decisions, good, bad, or indifferent, matter. And I think for any gamer, regardless of the engine, whether it's computer or cell phones or whatever, I want whatever decisions I make to help determine whether I've won or lost. Now, you take a bad team, it really doesn't matter what you do. How Al does it with the 62 Mets, he's going to get them to about 60 wins, I think, by the time all is said and done, which is phenomenal. And to make up for that over success, he will never hit an extra point with the Patriots ever again. But love you, Al, but that's true. But I think at the end of the day, unless you're playing a game that you're just recording the results and watching, that to me is the most important part. Did I make the decision that got me over, or if I lost, what is it? Something I know I did wrong? Did I feel like go back and win again? I don't lose any sleep over wins or losses or games, because sometimes it's really out of your control. You get beat 18-2. There's not much you can do. But yes, and I think for me the satisfaction is, okay, I made the pinch hitter at the right time. I left that pitcher in who I know was tiring, but I don't have anyone fresh left to go. You're it. You need to get out of this inning.
Right.
And those, I think, are the reasons for me why I go back. Because we all have television. We can just put on any game you want.
Right. Wondering, right? Well,
yeah, it's like, no, you gotta get me the one more batter. I know I'm supposed to pull you. I don't have a choice.
Right. And that's so much fun. That's so much fun to talk with you, Ron. We didn't talk about the length or anything, but I'm going to go ahead and just say it's been a great time having you back on the channel. We love talking.
I'm glad I had the chance to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, thanks everybody for coming out today. We do appreciate it very much. Tabletop Sports Delaware, Clinton Park, Steeler fan, Midlife Crisis. I mean, the list goes on. Cleveland baseball fan, Forrest, D. Scott Howard, Clinton Parks, Harold Demi, for DJ came in for a little bit. Thank you guys. Can't thank you enough for coming out, Jeffrey. I don't want to miss anybody. That's why I hate calling out people's names, because I inevitably miss somebody, and then they feel like, oh, well,
Miss ID will be back on Romper Room in a few weeks, and then she'll get you back again.
Yeah, that's exactly. But it's been a great time. Just like I said, no script. Let's just talk, right? And that's the way I do things.
Absolutely,
I have the best time doing that.
And when you're ready to come on the podcast, we would love to have you on.
Yeah, I would love to have be on the podcast. That'd be great. Probably be at least a couple weeks, and then we'll
absolutely
schedule something down the line. Okay,
we'll get you on.
All right, everyone. Thanks for spending your Memorial Day with us again. Happy Memorial Day to everyone out there, and we will see you down the line, and hopefully very soon. So take care, everybody.
Yeah.